Alright, so instead of doing two separate reviews on this movie, I figured I'll just combine it all. I'll go over some certain things I enjoyed and then just go full on into spoilers and talk about everything in the entire movie and what I liked, what I didn't. Because I did love a lot of things in this movie, but there were some things I didn't like. It's not a perfect movie. So let's just get into this. I'm going to start out by just going over a few points before I go into the spoilers. I was immensely hyped for this movie, like most of the population, so going into this I just had really high expectations and it was almost impossible to fill those out. So I did come out a little bit disappointed, but I still really enjoyed the movie a lot. Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman. This movie, he just shows he is a great actor and he portrays Clark Kent and Superman and Kal-El, whatever, really perfectly. Lois Lane, who is played by Amy Adams, is fantastic as well. Russell Crowe does a great Jor-El. Kevin Costner is really good as Pa Kent. Michael Shannon as Zod. I thought he had the potential to be one of the best, if not the best villain of the year. Like Benedict Cumberbatch in Star Trek was freaking awesome. So there were only a few people I had in mind that could possibly pass him. Michael Shannon was one of them, and he doesn't, specifically because of the material he's given. As Zod, he just doesn't have enough to do to the point where I could really just love his character, and as a villain, he does have enough to do to, you know, fill out the standard origin story villain, but he didn't go and soar to new heights that I thought he could. Diane Lane, Lawrence Fishburne, everyone else in the movie, they're all very good as well. And this movie is directed by Zack Snyder. Visually, the movie is amazing. I think the visuals were fantastic, especially during the action sequences. And there's a ton of action in the second half of this movie, and it gets very exhaustive at a point, which I'll go into later. But this movie, it sets up the DC cinematic universe nicely, which I wish Green Lantern did, but this movie is the start of it. And now I can't wait to see more of it. The story I thought was really well told. It was told in a unique way. And I haven't seen Superman. I haven't seen a Superman movie yet, so I saw Superman Returns in 2006, but I don't remember any of it, so I don't think that counts. So seeing his origin story on the big screen for the first time, technically for me, was really cool. Hans Zimmer's score in this movie was so awesome. It was just, it's one of his best scores in my opinion, because whenever the music came on, especially the main theme, I got all pumped up and ready for what was about to happen, and it's just perfect. And during the emotional scenes, he just kind of, you know, lets it mellow out, and just, it's quiet, but it's there, and I really liked it. I just want to talk about the 3D for a second, because I saw this in IMAX 3D, and the 3D in this movie, it's really bad. It just doesn't do anything. I took off my glasses a few times, and it was so slight, the difference between 3D and 2D. I could have just watched it like that the whole time, I think, because they didn't really try with this 3D conversion, because I could tell it wasn't filmed in 3D. Now we're heading into heavy spoilers. I'm going to talk a lot about the plot and what happens and how I felt about certain things. So if you don't want spoilers now, leave the review right now, because I'm going full out. I'm going to spoil everything, so just don't watch this. Stop now. Unless you've seen it, then stay. Please? Okay, so the movie starts out and you get about 20 minutes on Krypton, which I thought was fantastic. You don't really get to learn much about Krypton usually in Superman's origin story. He just kind of gets sent off as it's being destroyed. But here you get to see some of its downfall a little bit. They go into more detail about it. And I loved Russell Crowe here because he gets a good time to actually do something, which I thought he would just be in the movie for 5 minutes, just send off Kal-El and that would be it. So it was good to see him get a good portion of this movie to actually act. And when we first have Michael Shannon here, when he's going through all these scenes and when he's screaming like, I will find him, it was fantastic. I figured, alright, he's definitely going to be a great villain and he could rival Benedict Cumberbatch, and that just didn't pan out as the movie went on. And I'm glad Krypton actually got destroyed. There were rumors that it would just kind of still be there. I think Krypton being destroyed is a very important aspect to Superman's story, so that was good for me. And I liked how when the movie, after he gets sent to Earth, it goes straight into his adult life and it tells all of his childhood through flashbacks, because it's a non-linear way of telling the story, and I really liked how they did that. It made it feel fresh, and it didn't just feel like, oh, well, here's the childhood parts, and then there's the adult parts, here's the action, and that's it. It made it feel a little bit more different. And when you get introduced to Lois Lane, I really liked how Amy Adams just owned this role. She was fantastic, and she was really commanding on screen whenever she was on it. I guess I'll just lead that into one point I wanted to make. The Lois and Clark relationship, I felt they handled really well in this movie because, yeah, it's kind of hard to buy that she would, like, see Clark Kent in real life and he just puts on glasses and she doesn't know he's Superman. I'm glad they just threw that out the window and she knows that he's Superman this whole time, because it's more believable to me that people who don't really know him couldn't tell that he's Superman, but she's around him a lot, so her knowing, I feel, was the right way to go. One thing I feel like they rushed was his transition from, you know, not knowing who he was and what to do in this world, straight into Superman. It happens in like 5 minutes. He just goes into the Fortress of Solitude, and it's I don't know, well, I don't know if that was the fortress, it was just kind of a ship that moved, but nevertheless, he just goes in, he talks to Jor-El for a few minutes, and he's just suddenly walking out as Superman and accepting all of this. It's like, that was a little bit quick for me. I wish they had a little bit more explanation on the ship of what was going on and, you know, who he was and everything like that. The first flying scene was beautiful, it was breathtaking, it was awesome, and I liked how they had that little comedy bit where he kind of crashes through a mountain, and he's just, alright, let's try this again. That was fun. And when Zod finally re-enters the movie, it's pretty late, kind of. Well, not late, but he's just in there like maybe an hour and 20, hour and a half in. So when he started coming out, I thought, alright, finally we're getting the villain, he's gonna be awesome, and it just kind of disappointed me what he was doing, and he really didn't have that much to do. He just kind of sat in his ship for most of the time and just waited around to destroy humanity, and that was kind of disappointing for me. I did, though, like his motivation, like he's a crazed war general who just wants to rebuild his planet to keep his species alive, because that's all he knows, so that part I understood, and I didn't really feel bad for him necessarily, but I understood where he was coming from, even though I wanted him to lose. Now let's just get to the action for a second, because you have all these different action set pieces. You have the thing on Krypton, and it's destroyed. You have the oil rig thing, which doesn't last too long, but it was still interesting to see him outside of the costume doing something like that. You had that bus scene where he just lifts the bus out of the water. That was interesting. But this movie, like the second half of the movie, is just it's so action-filled. It's just, you have that scene in Smallville where he's fighting Feora and that other guy, and that was a pretty long action sequence, and it was really interesting. Not interesting, but it was really cool. It was well made. The CGI was seamless between like CGI models and the actual actors. It was really cool. And that one little thing they added in, how you have to hone the surroundings like Superman did, and Zod and Feora didn't have a good time doing that. That was really cool. Because look, this movie, it has that scene where Superman turns himself in, which I thought was cool. It was symbolic, like he was okay with the humans, he was trying to help them. And that scene didn't last as long as I had hoped, because I think that in big action movies, when they have someone in a cell or in a chamber to talk to them, usually makes for some pretty good scenes. Then Superman finally gets onto Zod's ship, and what they do there I thought was okay, but it just kind of slowed down the movie a little bit too much. Even though it didn't last that long, it just felt like, okay, we're in this flashback with Superman and Zod, but they're not really doing anything, and it was okay. Which, after Superman got off the ship and, you know, blew a hole in it, he saved Lois, and then it moves to the fight in, well, it starts at his house, then it moves into Smallville, and then they go to the fight on in Metropolis, and Zod's coming down, he's gonna destroy everyone, and Superman has to go to, like, South America or wherever he was, South Africa, and destroy the other side of it to make sure that humanity doesn't get destroyed. Which you think that it was almost over, but I knew Zod was gonna come back, because after they close up all that wormhole stuff, I figured he's still there. At that point, I was just exhausted by the action because of just how much it was so unrelenting, and the final fight with Zod was almost an afterthought. It's like, alright, Superman's not gonna lose now. And the action was really well done. It's just, I was sitting there like, oh my... I was dying, obviously. And I liked how they actually had Superman kill Zod. It was interesting, because you think of Superman, you don't think of a guy who's gonna kill the villain, but Zod was just gonna go and kill more humans, so he just snaps his neck, which he showed like immediate remorse for that, just screaming. I'm not sure if he was doing that for the, you know, millions of people he probably killed flying through all those buildings, or for killing Zod or killing anyone. Because that was another problem I had with this movie, was the fact that Superman is a guy who doesn't want humans to be hurt. So what's he doing flinging Zod through a gas station, blowing it up, flying through buildings, and just killing mass amounts of people? It's just, I don't see how they could have at least made a remark about that, like, how could I do this, Lois, or something like that. And, you know, maybe he could have put himself in self-exile or something like that and set up for the next movie. That probably wouldn't work, but I'm thinking out loud. I just didn't like how he killed so many people, and he just really didn't care about it. I also liked how they threw in a bunch of little Easter eggs in there to set up the universe. You had some LexCorp logos there. One scene, like, after Clark saves the bus in a flashback, the mother mentions Lana, so maybe Lana Lang. You see that pod opened up and the ship Superman goes into to get his costume, which could be Supergirl. I don't really want Supergirl, please, just... What's the point of her? She's just a Superman, except she's a girl. I don't see the point in that. And one that was actually kind of hard to see, but I kind of knew was there because of the magical internet, was when Superman and Zod were fighting when they fly into space and they destroy that satellite. It has a Wayne Enterprises logo on it. So yeah, that hints at Batman in this universe, so I'm glad they're setting up for that. I definitely can't wait for a sequel to this because I feel like it could be one of the best superhero movies of all time. This isn't one of the best, it's still a very good one. I'm going to give Man of Steel I'm gonna give it a B+. It's still a very good movie. I enjoyed a lot of the action, even though it became exhaustive after a while. Henry Cavill is a fantastic Superman. All of the cast was really just well cast. Zack Snyder does a very good job with this. I would be completely happy if he came back for a sequel. The villain was underdeveloped and didn't have too much to do, which was disappointing. A couple things felt rushed, but you know what? It's still an enjoyable movie, and I think if you haven't seen it, definitely go out and see it. If you haven't seen it, I don't know why you watch this, to be honest. So what did you guys think of Man of Steel? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? Is it your favorite Superman movie yet? Is Henry Cavill your favorite Superman? Write your beautiful comments down there and tell me what you think. And if you like this video, hit that subscribe button down there. Because if you don't, I'm gonna die after this review, so just help me out here.